tips, so everybody else will we're gonna push out, really try to change people's behavior. If you're doing this, don't do this. Come here. And if you're coming from Cartersville, come this way.
And you find it.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Not hers, so.
Job assignment, isn't it? Some folks have named their crazy days. He was talking about it, and then later he'll bring it up again and no, I don't understand. Evidently, it didn't matter in his tax time, no matter
Yeah, I think we all. I didn't think you
Okay, y'all ready to get started? Let's call it to order. First order will be to approve the agenda. And we have a couple of things changes I'd like to make to this. I would like to make a motion that we modify the agenda to show under the bond refinancing section, instead of just 2007, that it would include bonds from 2007 and 2008. That would be number one under discussion and pricing. And also, that we add to the agenda approval of a resolution to advertise the rollback rate. How about new business, first thing to new business, would that work for y'all? We'll talk through that new business real quick. Any others? That's the only changes that I have. Do y'all have any other changes?
Well, we would amend the agenda to reflect the two changes we have.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so, the first item is going to be an update on the Clear Creek ball fields. Lloyd's on vacation, do you have some information?
We're waiting on all the sod proposals coming in. We finished on the piping on the irrigation system last week. We pulled the control wires next week. So we get that done on the flush system. We'll be ready for practice.
Okay.
And we'll also need some prices on finishing out the upstairs of press walks and get it complete finish. That way we'll be good in springtime next year.
Have we already mixed the infield there with the
Brick dust. No,
brick dust?
we're waiting on the brick dust to bring it in until we get the sod laid and we can finish everything up to the sod.
Okay.
With that finished layer of brick dust.
Do we have an estimate of about
classification it would be.
So we're open, pretty much everything we finished in September, except for the concrete, it's gonna be in between the fields. It's actually playing surface, solid will be down, pretty much will be down.
So probably nobody's gonna be playing them this year, but it'll be ready for spring.
It'll be able to spring.
Okay.
Be ready for spring.
Thank you. Update on River Park?
Football season started, we've got 117 players and 38 cheerleaders. That's right in line with last year's number, we're down like five players. We've got 6 home dates at Clear Creek. Last year it's only 4, so a little bit more revenue coming in. In the past, we haven't done concession stands, but the park will be doing concession stand up there for these 6 events. And we also got a playoff game too, so the playoff game will be put up at the high school field. And that is a joint venture between us and the high school program. We work the high school field, and we should build that Dixie ball, something they do. I can't say enough about how the new football coaching staff has gotten involved in years. It's amazing. They have a meet Bobcats night tonight taking place, so all our kids are going up there, they don't meet all the Bobcats. Last night they're coaching a clinic, all the high school coaches stayed after practice. All of our coaches went up there. I think we was up there for 2 hours. We guys on the dry race board, showing the schemes, and just teaching our head coaches, game of football. I mean, it's tremendous. And this year we are doing a fall softball for the girls too. So this hasn't been done in a couple of years. And we've got football thing pretty much carry the boys, but the girls, they got soccer. So, kind of just some girls, so we're going to give an opportunity to play ball.
Thanks, sir.
Kevin, can I ask, last month you talked about an archery grant, and
Yes.
tell me a little bit more about that, how much or what it's for,
It was
real quick.
right at $3,000, and we had 5 guys go through the Georgia DNR youth program, and so we've got 5 instructors. And that grant was for 6 targets, 12 bows, a rack, and arrows. And we've received all those in too, so it's a really good program. Just
And it came from
DNR.
DNR, okay,
From DNR.
okay, thanks.
Update on White Path Golf Course.
Not a whole lot has changed since last time. We do gained a couple members. I think right now we've got 151 paying members. We got our size in last couple weeks ago. 18 pilots, 9,000 square feet. We did 13 tees, 6, 8, 9, 7, and 2 tee boxes. We got a lot more done than what I thought we would. It was great to cut in today, fertilizing, and be good. The pre-emerge, fall pre-emerge, we go out the last week of August. I'm just got from him, so I can't remember when we do this, the 25th. That's part of that program we're talking about. And I'll arrange probably 2 days after that. And just the upcoming events that we have, which that's big for us. This weekend, we've got the Hall of Fame, we took the football run. Then 26th of this month, we've got the home building, which is a good song Wednesday. September 18th, the downtown development. It's Kathy. She's up there yesterday, she's really done a good job. She's got a lot of things already. Then the biggest one probably of the year is the West Warren. They've been having this tournament in Alaska every year. And they came and called and looked at the course. And because they don't have to rent cars, but they're outside that many teams. I have 2. We'll have 8 people a hole. West Warren. This is the first year they've had it, and the guys have put it and looked around. So, yeah, we just have to, so that's going to be a big day. That's a Wednesday morning, I'll slow us down. Really a good good tournament. And then, Stacy's tournament, sheriff's tournament, will be, September 30th. So, you got a full little bit, but looking
Better have some water by then.
good.
What's the status?
Working on it. EPA don't get in a hurry.
What we're gonna do with Jerry,
We're dying of thirst.
I hear you. We're gonna go with Halford's, I think, and buy a nice machine, Gary and I. That way I can use it, when we just get this well going, we can put water on the course, and he can use it inside. I bet he didn't have to buy one night, I don't know.
But now, until we do get the well going, we can't really use it, right?
I can't put it on the course, no. Now, you can, somebody can get something put to it, but you can't put it in a.
We can't have it made kind of
No.
stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. I think we can put it in a cooler to keep drinks cold, but you can't put it in a cup. Right.
I had something to the golf course.
Yeah.
We started some promotional stuff too. We've done some stuff on, Chester News, advertising, and, there's a little coupon book that comes out there, 40,000 of them that go out across the 4 counties. We've been advertising it, and we're about to make a big push in the North Fulton, North Cobb, and South Cherokee areas. So pretty much commercial down there, it's gonna get about 250,000 people, about 50,000 households.
And those was on that too. My wife saw one, yesterday, and matter of fact, somebody used one, the 2 of the coupons that came in, so.
To the best of our knowledge, I don't think the golf course has ever been promoted, like this before. So, play increasing like it is, and then, the commercial taking place down south, that should really boost us for a big year next year.
Is your online reservation system working?
It's working.
People using it?
Yes, they are. Now, I did away with golf now. Golf 18 is how we're paying with us to pour up. And it's just golf now, every double book. And then, you just can't keep up with it. So I called them and canceled that. But the pour up, they are on there doing that. They can go to our website and do it either one. And it goes automatically into the system sheet. We don't have to write anything down. It tells you what it is. Now, whether they're getting there enough of their money or not, I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers yet. We don't want, I can't remember how much the money. Don't think this month or last month that they made that quota, but as long as they're happy, I haven't heard anything.
And so, with that new system, we're able to track everything that comes through this too. So,
And I gave Dallas, yeah, that's last month,
yeah.
which was a very good number.
It's pretty strong.
But it should have been more than that. I had to close July 3rd. It rained all morning. Key sheet was packed. I mean, until 2 o'clock we didn't have it. It was packed. It was a really sad day, but if you remember, it was a lot. But be nice to do that.
Yeah, but we would have something right out there for the program.
Yeah.
Well, you're very close to it.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
My other department, community service.
Yes.
We've got to do something to get these community service people doing community service. Pat's doing all he can to get them here, but, Jim's in the bind right now. He's got a trailer that's got to have tires loaded, and with everything the golf course thinks we did, everything the park thinks we did, and being short-staffed, and, and Pat's begging for these guys to come in, but, there's no response, and, I don't know what we need to do.
That was something with Judge Weaver on that. He had,
I think he did, but nothing's channeled down from her yet to motivate these people to start coming in.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would help if you said something to Judge.
yeah.
Because Pat's doing all he can do. And they're not showing up. And he's actually, I can't say enough about Pat, but he is actually, because when he doesn't have people, he's weed eating himself, our convenience center. he shouldn't have to do that.
He came up with us, we had that song, Pat laid as much as he
Yeah,
had.
and he doesn't have our people, so he's doing the work with the people.
So these are people that have a sense of community service, but they're just not showing
Just not showing up. And he's been to the probation office, he's been to Judge Weaver, I think, and he's gonna take somebody on. I hear it.
Okay, up there in the airport project.
Well, the airport project is moving along. We're at about 30,000 cubic yards of dirt hauled and put in place. All of our compaction tests are still coming out good. We lost 2 days this week because of rain. One of the things that we have to do is the moisture content in the soil. If it's too wet, you can't put it down because you have to tear it back out. But we had the FAA and Georgia DOT project managers on site last Friday. They looked at the project, well pleased with the progress. For the benefit of you commissioners, you received $114,000 last month, and we've submitted the second disbursement for $115,000 or thereabouts. So this project is helping your cash because all we take out of that, if we had to buy materials or something like that, but the rest of it goes back into the general fund. And that's a good thing. That helps everybody. But we're with what we term as the whole, the north end of runway 21, we're about a third full. About 90,000 cubic yards go in the hole. And then the last part of it is what's called unclassified excavation. We would actually be taking dirt from on site and capping the top of it. And then we start the ditches. 30,000 cubic yards will go in the ditches that run parallel to the runway, and basically we'll have swales. We'll be able to mow 90% of the airport property with a bush hog without any problem. The incident that happened a week this past Tuesday, unfortunate incident. But it also gave me the opportunity to take those two visitors, show them the aircraft, and show them the ditch that caused the aircraft to flip upside down. So it's unfortunate, but it was a prime example of the reason for the safety project. While I'm on the airport, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about operations. This past month, we had 335 operations, which is the highest number of operations that we have ever had at the airport since we've been keeping the records. And our aviation fuel went up below that. We had the highest amount of savings as well. Things are growing. We brought 2 new hangar tenants in. One of them is a twin engine, a Cessna 310. The other is a Piper Archer, and that fills our hangars up. We are full. The only thing that we have now available in the hangars is a middle of what we would call short-term hangars. If somebody wanted to park overnight in a hangar or something like that, we do still have space on the ramp, but our hangars are full. And in addition to that, I think it's on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The Airport Advisory Board has been meeting with the Civil Air Patrol. I think you have in your packet a letter coming from the chairman of the Airport Advisory Board. They have met, and our contractor met with the Civil Air Patrol people and their air conditioning people, and it's basically their recommendation that you give approval for them to install the air conditioners.
Jim, will the dirt that goes inside with the ditches come from the same borrow?
Yes, sir. It comes from the same bar. The total amount of dirt that we will be moving and putting in place is 130,000 cubic yards, but about 15,000 cubic yards of that is on site. That's what's called unclassified. But yes, sir, all of the dirt comes from one bar area.
Well, the next item here is two, I think, they don't have the words projects.
Yes, sir. Let me start with solid waste. In view of the budget meeting that we had Monday, you have a draft of the RFP that we need to advertise for the drilling of the 7 methane wells that we discussed. And you will see there, Mr. Chairman, there's a draft letter there. There's no pride in authorship if you want to change any part of that. But in addition to that, you'll see on the third page of the 7 wells, the approximate depth of each well that will have to be drilled. And then you will also see a diagram in the very back, in this part right here, that shows you a cross-section on this page of what the methane monitoring well looks like. Right there.
Are these the same as the existing ones?
Yeah, it'll be, Dallas, it'll be basically the same as the existing methane monitoring wells that we have. Now, one of the things that I want to point out to you is that these wells that are drilled, just your common, they're not your common everyday well. And the specs for these wells are here. But I don't think it needs your approval, but if it does, we need your authorization to go ahead and advertise the RFPs for this project. We have until November to finish by the EPD for 270 days. So we need to get cracking.
Are any of these over on the inner landfill
No.
properties, the park?
Well, there is no inner landfill there.
I know, but that was designated.
Well, if you look, Dallas, there's a diagram, there's actually wells in that general area.
That's not necessary if it was inert waste, is it?
Well, inner
Only if it's
waste,
solid.
yeah, only if it's solid waste.
I mean, I'm not putting wells where I don't need them.
No, you're only gonna put them where EPD says that they need to be put. Only on solid waste, not on let me
You
just.
don't have any way of, no negotiation left.
No. No. We ran that gamut under Commissioner Sanford. And we actually had originally planned to install 4 wells 1 year. Now, they did give us that latitude to install 4 1 year and 3 the next. But we didn't get the 4 installed, so now we've got to install that.
So you're saying that, you may need a resolution?
I'll yield to the county attorney. Do we need a resolution to run this RFP, David?
We can modify it and change it.
Solid waste, let me tell you, the schedule, for the recycling. We will start the recycling in the compactors, if everything looks like we think, September 1, except for Tower Road. We have one of the compactors, Tower Road, that the slab has got to be redone, or part of the slab, because it has been used so long that the compactor and the dumpster are not meeting up right, and so we've got to solve that part off. In lieu of that, we're not going to do the compactor recycling at Tower Road until we get that done, because we will have to shut that compactor down. And Advanced Disposal has provided us with an open top 30-yard dumpster for the recycling. So we'll be handling that in that dumpster until we get our primary compactor slab back in operation. But the other 2 locations, September 1 will start.
We'll still have recycling Tower Road, it just won't be the compactor.
Right. It'll be in an open, a 30-yard, Charlie, open top dumpster instead. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jim, how are we going to keep people from putting solid waste into the recycle and doing it for free instead of paying $1 back?
It's a good question, Dallas. We talked about this the other day, and that's the one thing that we will have to police. Our attendants will not be able to sit in the shed. They're going to have to be out there and walk what goes into the recycling dumpster and what goes into the household. But I will tell you that Bobby Bright, with Advance, who is regional manager, it'll happen the best that you can do. And he showed me examples of it where he had picked it up from actually from you, and they'll slip it in there. But it's the only choice that we have if we want to continue the recycling program.
Jim, all that, I'm curious too.
The road department, let me tell you that we have, this month, we have striped about 12, 13 miles of road. Turniptown, Lucius Road, Ellington Road. We've got a couple of other roads that we're going to be striping. I wish we had more money in the striping program than what we have, and possibly next year that we can. But we try to do a few every year. These were the worst, and so we Parker Striking out of Cleveland, Georgia, did those for us this
anything though that we can do to make them look good longer? I think some of the last stripes that we had done a fairly good one.
Charlie, you know, you can put heavier coats of paint. Now, they're striping to DOT specification. But some of them, some of the roads just, they get heavy traffic. And one of the things that happens with the striping is that you have to have good temperatures to do it. If you do it and whether it's too cold or if the surface is a little wet or damp, the paint doesn't adhere to it. I mean, short of putting the thermoplastic on there, and you're talking about major expense, and that's basically, Charlie, the reflectorized tape, you know, that they put down and take a heat gun.
How long would that last? I mean, that would last several years.
Well, I tell you what, there is a good example of it on Old Highway 5 South, a three-way stop that the city of LJ installed. Been there 3-4 years, something like that, and it needed it right now. I mean, it's just traffic east. One of the, talking about striping, I mean, one of the projects that we'll be submitting next year is to restripe the airport run and ramp area, and it's 5 years old. That's about all that will last. Take a look at some of the state highways, you'll see the same thing.
So when you say it's a lot more expensive, are we talking like double
Or probably triple.
triple? Thank you, sir. Next item is to appoint members to the Keep Gilmer Beautiful Advisory Committee.
We have struck out. What we were trying to do was to get people that had participated in the adopted road program. The only two that we have been able to persuade to serve on the committee, Greg Altman. These were former members of the adopted road committee, Nancy DeBarton and Greg Altman. So if you guys have got, we need 5. If you guys have got 3 people that you know that would be good for that, we're ready to put the committee into operation. We have all of the materials from Ms. DeBarton, who was running the program. We have all of the signage that was left, and the pickers and bags and safety vests and things like that. So if you 3 commissioners have got 3 people that would like to serve on that committee, we'll put them to work.
Those are the 2 names I have, and that's the only 2 names I have. So that doesn't help.
Well, what we will do, Dixie Tyler and I will serve as staff. And I would really wanted to get Pat Shelton or Kevin involved, because community service is going to be involved in this in one way or another. Because what would happen is that if you have a group that picks up litter on a particular road, they bag it up and they leave it. What we were doing was community service or the road department was then going and picking those bags up and disposing of them. But without a community service program, it's kind of tough. And that's why we're suggesting that somebody put a notice on this.
So do we want to just table this for now?
Unless you guys have got 3 that you want to.
That's all I suggest.
All right, thank you. Review pending action on the resolution creating regulations on the use of alcoholic beverages and activities on the river. I thought we had decided we were gonna revisit that in September.
I was gonna make the same comment, Charlie. I think our minutes said we did table it till September.
Yeah.
That's what I had in my minutes.
Have you got something?
Well, there's been an incident, a severe injury on there, there's alcohol involved, there's a severe, I asked Tony to come to, when I saw it on the agenda, to describe that incident.
Well, we've got it on the agenda, so let's, we can go ahead and go with it.
The 18th of July, Tony, you want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, on that day, we responded out to the river in reference to an individual who had been tubing down the river, and exactly what he was doing is unclear a little bit as far as if he had jumped off the rock or had actually fell out of his tube and hit the rock, but nonetheless, he had been brought there by one of the outfitters. The individual was very, very under the influence of alcohol. He did sustain severe injuries in which he's still hospitalized for now. And, you know, it's kind of like the first time, most of the time that we've responded to those type of incidents on the river, alcohol has been a big player in that. The guy's very lucky to even still be with us because of the circumstances.
He was airlifted.
He was airlifted from the scene, that's right. There were 3 vertebrae in the neck that were fractured, and immediately after that, he was paralyzed and unable to move. At this point, no improvement out in the public.
Tony, on a typical month in the summer, how many calls can you get going out there?
Actual calls, sometimes 3 or 4 a week, but not all of those turn into a full-blown response. A lot of times, most of them self-mitigate within the time it takes for us to get there. But actual calls is not uncommon to have 3 or 4 weeks in this time of year, and on the weekend, sometimes it's that a day. So it really just depends on how close it is to a holiday and how many people they have that's using the outfitters.
And how many of those you think are alcohol related?
I would say the better part of it. You know, people just, their judgment is obviously impaired, and, you know, they do things that put them and everybody else in danger as well.
Do we have any ideas on how to
The area of the river between North Arcade Road and Clear Creek Falls, I think people underestimate the dangers on that section of it. The low water level, it's a pleasant float on the tube, but people who are not aware of the dangers of the river do put themselves in danger. I see people diving off in shallow water head first, which I suspect is what's happening to this point. When the water gets up, there's a lot of trees get undermined on the banks, fall into the river and form what's called a strainer. It's very hazardous. Water goes through that and traps someone and forces the water holes into place. I think most of the tubers aren't aware of those hazards. Most of the tubers are not wearing life jackets. A high percentage of them are consuming alcohol. It just appears to be a recipe for disaster. Over the years, I've seen a lot of stupid things.
Can I ask David a question? Since we actually publicized that we would table it until September, do we need to hold off officially?
Well, what y'all agreed to do is to revisit it in September, but it's on the agenda. Any action you take tonight would just be exploratory, because that would be essentially what y'all were doing in the first place. So, I don't know. There was some suggested language that would be added to an ordinance that y'all had come up with, or I presented, that was the cooler. But which outfit is it, you know?
I don't know if there is a specific outfitter that is the issue. I think it's just an overall problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's been represented to y'all that, you know, 1 or 2 of the outfitters are trying to really police this pretty well, whereas maybe 1 or 2 of the others are not. So,
that's a very reasonable thing to apply. And rivers of this character, we're virtually the only one in the southeast, first of all, that's allowing alcohol. You will be taken to jail on Hiawassee or the Coe or the Manhaver or a lot of other rivers in the southeast with comparable difficulties. The DNR section, control section of the Carter Gate already prohibits alcohol, and they're enforcing that. So I think it's part of the solution. A lot of the interaction, the negative interaction with landowners up and down the way has been exacerbated by alcohol. A lot of people have become more belligerent, and that's been the source of a lot of problems with the landowners. And the section of the river I've described, most of it is through private property, both sides of the river.
David, who has enforcement authority? Because that is controlled by the DNR, is it not? That corridor, the river? It's not county property?
Well, it's not county property, but I don't believe it's state property either. Randy, do y'all respond to calls that are above the DNR? Yeah, I figured it would be the sheriff. And
So,
Downstream of Baltimore, DNR owns all of the north bank, and at one point it covers both sides of the river.
so I'm just wondering about jurisdiction, whether we have any conflict with the DNR. They won't enforce our ordinance, the DNR would not, I assume.
I don't know, I thought there was an incident here too, though, where they were enforcing some life vest violators in town. And that's certainly not being our state property.
Officer Van Lanningham does enforce up and down the river. The DNR.
I just want to be sure that the ordinance is clear on who enforces that ordinance if we change this.
Well, I don't know that it necessarily will say who enforces it. It will be a mechanism in which a law enforcement that sees that violation will have to cite the person that is in fact in violation of the ordinance. So if it's the DNR within Manningham, he can cite them for that county violation. And if it's not, I mean, I would suspect sometimes he actually calls the county for assistance as well.
That's correct.
So it wouldn't create any difficulty.
And let me ask you though, didn't we at one point a while back talk about banning alcohol in the river? And the real sticking point was we couldn't figure out how to do it without having somebody on their docks with a beer being in violation.
That was and then.
Sitting in the water, because that was still their property.
And also the expansion of what rivers or what waterways you were wishing to include. That was the key also, is where you're going to, if it's going to include waterways, are you going to include Mountain, or you're going to include the Peace Waters?
That original recommendation was within the high water marks of any stream in Gilmer County. It was a very broad stroke.
Yeah.
Where I don't think that's called for. It's just the section that we're talking about where the rivers don't have this. And there's all these property owners that are protected. If you could target that section, I believe you might be able to.
I don't have a problem banning it on the river. If that would be.
I do think though, if y'all were to go to the no coolers, I think that essentially ends it for the most part. Unless it's hard liquor that they're carrying in the 32-ounce bottle, it's going to be a little difficult to carry it up in the beverage to the inebriated by the time they get to the bottom.
Okay, well, so we want to move forward with that, or still wait for a second?
Perhaps we could come out with specific recommendations in September. I think the September meeting, there was going to be some recommendations on licensing of outfitters and other broader topics related to the river.
That was the reason for the delay.
The delay, and it wasn't really related to.
No, you're right, it wasn't for just this.
And plus your season's about to include the.
Yeah, it wouldn't affect this year.
Okay,
I would say let's hold it off until September.
we'll just table this and pick it back up a second.
Well, would you like me to make recommendations? Would you like to have a task force of law enforcement give some guidance there?
I'd rather have you make recommendations, maybe after talking with the law enforcement, because, couple of committees. We don't get their recommendations. Is that for time? All right, so we'll table this. Okay, under new business, we need to approve a resolution to advertise the proposed rollback rates.
We will have to republish them this year, right? Good.
Both months.
We have a draft resolution you're referring to. Okay, I'll move that we adopt this resolution tonight. Yeah.
I've been waiting 6 months for you to do that.
I did it last month. I don't know. Get carried away.
We wait for you to do that, Travis.
I don't want to be the only one to do it.
So anyway,
Okay, tonight we will.
I'm in favor of making a motion.
All right, next thing is we want to have a discussion of refunding of the remainder of the 2007 GO bonds and the 2008 bonds. And Andrew has been very helpful in all of this bond refunding for us, and we're pleased to see you back again.
Yeah, well, thanks. I don't know that we have to look at it, but in case we get bogged down somewhere, I'll run some handouts for us. Basically, just to kind of recap this year, we refinanced a portion of the 07 GO bonds, saved about $1.45 million. In doing the course of that deal, we will have the last two maturities outstanding. Those both carried an interest rate of 5%, and that's what would be left that's eligible to refinance on the 07 general obligation bonds. That debt that remains is approximately $3.99 million.
How much again, Andrew?
There's approximately $3.99 million in principal left of those bonds that were not refinanced. At the same time, the county has two other bonds that were issued in 2008. It was a Series A. These were both issued through the building authority. The 2008 project went towards the completion of the courthouse. There's $4.66 million in principal left outstanding on that particular issue. The rates range between 4.2 and 4.7%. And then the final part of that bond deal was a Series B that belonged to the Dalton State College Library piece of land. What's left remaining on that is $1.21 million in principal, and those rates range from 4.13 to 4.7%. So much like we did with the last refinancing, based on the new world we live in with the SEC and other agencies, that we ask that you all engage us to help basically facilitate a refunding in the future and be proactive over the next 6 to 12 months regarding that refinancing, if that makes sense to you all to pursue. Just to let you know, interest rate wise, rates have kind of gradually increased. We locked the refunding in at the very end of April. For 2015, we did a high interest rate on June 10th, which was a couple of days before we closed the refinancing. Of course, the savings had already been locked in, and we've kind of been having flow since then, but we are a little bit in a slightly higher interest rate environment. So the amount that's eligible for one to refinance is less, and frankly, the way the rates have moved, the expectation on savings would be less than you've seen before, but that's just makes sense in the sense that it's less principal and just a different interest rate environment.
So basically what we need to do tonight is approve the resolution to sign the engagement letters.
That's right. For these three specific issues, it'd be the 07, the 2008A, and the 2008B.
see that we've got to act on quickly, or in fact this year.
Other than just officially engaged.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
they have to have a legal.
actually,
Yeah.
because none of these are calls we had, and there's not.
Much like you did with the 07 bonds, you can call them in advance of the call date, but, those are, the timing of that is one of the things that we want to sit down and give a recommendation at a time of other things.
If we engage you, then you can give us advice.
Specific, we can give you, we can provide recommendations.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
With the devaluation of the yuan, isn't the interest rates, is this a good time to consider refinancing because the rates are going down now?
That is one of the things that has created rates to go down in the last couple of days. Whether that continues to be the case or not, it's anybody's guess. But that's why rates, in part, have come down from that high of June 10th. But they're still higher than they were in April.
If they give you approval tonight, then you have the ability to lock something in at some point in the future, like when would that be?
From a regulatory standpoint, we have the ability to do that at any time. It could be locked in. A typical deal, the earliest that anything could happen is 45 days, but that's not to say that that's what would happen.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Let me ask a quick question. I can't recall, Andrew, but I know that the 2008 A and the B are building authorities that, was that same document needed to be signed by the building authority, if I recall?
Yeah, since the county's the obligor of the debt, they're the ones responsible for the payment through the building authority. So it would be the county's on the county's time to have us move forward, but we wouldn't want to update the building authority, sit down with them to notify them what's going on, and whenever we got to the point where there was a deal, they would also need to take official action.
So you're saying we really ought to do this twice, once here and once to the building authority?
The disclosure?
No, engagement letter.
Would. And I think he's saying no because of the fact that the county's ultimately the obligor on both debts. That their firm is satisfied with the fact that the county is signing the
I didn't hear it that way.
Well, so we've got, in our engagement, we've got a line item for the authority to sign ultimately. But to begin this process, we went to the county as obligor to start the process. But, it would benefit us to have the authority, just to sit down with them, let them know what's going on. So, frankly, we need them on the building authority debt to also acknowledge the same disclosures, but that would come in after the county took action.
Anything else? Thank you, Andrew. Tourism update.
One for you. Don't want to take much of your time. I know you have a very long agenda today, but wanted to thank you again for the opportunity to come and talk about all the great things that are happening this year. We are surprisingly 7 months into the year. It's gone by very fast. But just wanted to give you a couple of the highlights. In the January through July timeframe of collections, we're up 11% hotel motel tax. That actually reflects stays that happened between November and May. So November 2014 and May of 2015. Overall, from 2007, hotel motel taxes increased 148%. We continue to see that trend, as you can see very proud of that for a number of reasons. Also, in December of 2014, we launched a redesigned website. The statistics are on the next page. You'll notice that in December 2014, which is a little skewed because we were down for a few days as we made the transition. We had 4,000 total views to the website, and in July, we had 35,000 total views to the website. The graph for the website continues to show just exponential growth. Two things of note, because it is a multi-purpose website, it does cover the chamber, tourism, and economic development. There are 3 portals, actually 4, considering the community information. But 2 of the top 3 are tourism related. A blog post on 10 things to do in LJ before the summer was over. And then the second is our homepage for Explore the LJs, which is the tourism part of the site. So it's getting the most traffic. People are coming, looking for visitor information. And we do anticipate those numbers to continue growing as now that the site is completely vetted and everything's been taken care of on the back end, we are going to start strategically placing more advertising online to direct people to the website now that that's done. We have a great partnership with Georgia State Parks, and you can see that we do get a lot of referrals from their website. So for the 2016 buy, I do anticipate more going into the digital piece of it. Print is not dead, and print continues to be very important to us. It drives a lot of people to the website, and then a lot of people on the website in turn are requesting our print piece. So this is hot off the presses. Boxes actually arrived yesterday, so I don't think anybody has seen that, so I'll post several for you guys, and I can leave some as well. This is our new visitor's guide. Very proud of it. It's actually a 3rd edition of one very similar that we started 3 years ago. When I started in 2008, we had 30,000 visitors guides. It took us about 2.5 years to distribute. Every year since then, we have printed about 30,000, and they lasted anywhere from 15 to 18 months. March of 2014, we printed 50,000 visitors guides, and we gave out within about 15 months. So this is a 50,000 just received today. I anticipate those to go very quickly. With the new website, the request for those is going exponentially higher as well. So I do not think that 50,000 will last us a full 12 months. We also are a partner with Higgins, Gilmer, and Union Towns. The 515 corridor. About 3 years ago, we started the North Georgia Farm Trail, which celebrates everything agritourism related in all of our counties. And it is now in its 3rd edition that just came out a couple of months ago. It's very well received from the partners on the agriculture side, agritourism side, also from the consumers. They do like that. They like that it is a multi-county because visitors don't know county lines, and they like that it's one piece of material that they can get for all of them. Through that partnership this year, we also did the inaugural North Georgia Farm Trail Agritourism Symposium. It was held in Blairsville in April and had a lot of our agritourism partners come and hear from Agritourism Association, Georgia Grown, as well as social media and other people. So we are anticipating doing that again in 2016. We got some incredible coverage. Hopefully this is old news to y'all and everyone in the room, but we were extremely proud. Garden and Gun magazine, which is a preeminent Southern lifestyle magazine based out of Charleston. It's a beautiful publication and one that we have gone after for a number of years. We've tried to stay in front of them. And so in their June issue, we were named one of the top 10 Southern Dream Towns. And there's great coverage here. We have already gotten several of the partners that are mentioned in the article, and they did have complete editorial control. But several of the partners have mentioned that this has already been doing gangbusters for their businesses. So that is incredible coverage that we're very proud of. And that type of coverage, just like in a lot of your other larger magazines, will have a lifespan for a number of months, even up to years. Blue Ridge Outdoors Magazine, which is a great publication that covers the Blue Ridge Mountains from Virginia down to us. We have been named a Top Towns finalist, and that voting will continue for the next few months, or the next few weeks, but I do anticipate LJ having a great showing with that.
You should get on there and vote.
Get on there and vote, please, blueridgeoutdoors.com, so we can stay in as a finalist.
We're against what community?
Right now, we're up against Dawsonville, and we're very much in the lead. But once the semifinals are over, they will take and continue until we can get to the finals, we hope. In June, we were fortunate enough to host 8 travel writers from all over, including Italy, a couple out of the Southeast, a couple out of the Midwest. As part of our partnership with the state, they came and spent 4 days in our region, covering Cleveland, all up through Hiawassee and Blue Ridge and LJ. We hosted them during the plein air event that the vineyards had in June, and so they were able to take part in that. Visited the apple houses, the vineyards, Mountain Valley Farms, downtown, several great products. We've already started to see some press coming out of that as well. Behind your website statistics, we've had for the last 2 or 3 years a partnership with a company called Mills Marketing. Jeff Mills is a former Commission of Visitors Bureau director out of DeKalb, who's formed a company recognizing the need for smaller chambers, Commission of Visitors Bureaus to be represented at a number of trade shows that we just don't really have the money to take, the travel money and staff to be out of the office. So we have a partnership now with him where he takes our brochures and represents us at all of these shows. And there's a 3-page document that really gives you an idea of the types of shows that he's going to and we're being represented by his company. Every military installation has a travel office. Most of them have a travel show. So he goes and represents us at those, at different golf shows, different travel shows, sport shows, boating shows, women's lifestyle shows, all of those. So it has turned out to be a really good partnership. It does help us have a greater exposure without the cost of the travel. In turn, we get the database from all of those that we're able to follow up with visitors guides or email newsletters or things like that. So it's data collection as well. We also have increased our visibility with the state welcome centers. I don't know if y'all have traveled in and around the state lately, but a lot of the welcome centers are actually going through rehab right now. Ringgold, which is our closest welcome center, will be closed, I think in September, so they're going through some renovations. But kind of as part of that, as part of our partnership with the state, they do a day where they invite all of the chambers and communities to come, partners to come in and be there. And so you can see the ones that we have already attended. Plains, which Plains is very interesting. It is the only state welcome center that's not on the interstate. But they do a big fishing derby the same day. So we get a lot of South Georgia people there who actually live in that area, which is a big market for us. So Plains, Livonia, Tallapoosa, Valdosta, West Point, and then Joe will be going to Ringgold next week for theirs. We also have started working with and talking about planning for 2016. We've always had a great partnership with Cardi K Bike Shop and bringing in Dirt Ride Magazine and Mountain Bike Action Magazine, and now bringing Mulberry Gap into that as well, of trying to they go to a lot of mountain bike shows and events around the country, and they're talking about expanding that reach into Canada and a little further north. So if we can work with them, we will also have a presence, not just bike shop, not just Mulberry Gap, but actually just talking about mountain biking in the Gilmer County area. So really excited about that. Talk about the plein air event. It was very successful. We needed a June event in the county. We have other events throughout the year, but June was kind of that one piece that we were missing. And I was very excited that Gilmer Arts and the vineyards partnered together to do this event, and what I'm hearing is it was considered a success by all parties. So we were able to help them, and they're planning it for 2016, but we were able to help them with some marketing that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do for an inaugural event to bring people in. So we're excited about that. We continue to aggressively market the community through various print publications, online, as well as different trade shows that we do try to go to. Our social media, I'm extremely proud of the work that's done there. A lot of people think of it as free marketing, but it really isn't. When you have a full-time staff person almost completely dedicated to it, there is a cost associated with it to do it right and do it well. But she does an incredible job, has a presence across all the platforms, is now working with Google. Google has, I said this at the luncheon, Charlie heard me say it earlier, that Google runs the world whether we admit it or not, I think, and they have a great partnership now called Put Your Cities on the Map. And it is to help our local businesses have an accurate presence in Google, because that's how we all get our information, a lot of it. And so through Google, we are an official partner to help them with that. And so we are waiting for some really great promotional materials that they're going to get to us for the cities. We are working with LJ and East LJ and county businesses as well to make sure that they're all accurately represented on Google. That is also just I'm really excited to see in the last year a lot of product development happening in the county. I think that is a direct impact from the last 5 years of tourism being one of the main economic drivers in this county. And I think that we're seeing the investment starting to follow that. As you know, they've broken ground on the Comfort Inn in East LJ. Hopefully that will be up very soon. Our Apple Blossom Festival that we started last year, 2 years ago, I guess, will continue to grow the new boardwalk downtown. Tater Patch Farm, if you haven't been out there in Highway 52, it's a great new addition. More acreage is being planted in apple trees, which is also product development for us. The expanding wine country, there's another one coming online just across the Pickens County border this weekend. 2 more in the works. I think y'all are certainly aware of that, but really I'm excited about what I'm seeing in the product development side of things. I think it gives us more opportunities to market and have more product to market. So that was a lot in a few minutes, I hope, but I'm happy to answer any questions and really looking forward to 2016 and everything else.
Any questions?
I've got a quick question. And I love what y'all do. I don't know how you stay so busy to get it all done, but I like what you do. But I want to ask how your role is going to change when the Joint Development Authority picks up and starts doing their development stuff.
Well, my role is going to be, I'm actually very excited about it. We have 4 or 5 years covered 3 different business units, as y'all know that, Chamber, Economic Development, and Tourism, all really under the hats that I wear. And having the Joint Development Authority housed for us, I think, is a huge win. I think for us personally as an organization, it's going to allow having that other person focused on development is going to help me in concentrating more on the tourism side of things. Because there are some really exciting things that we want to do to add to even more of this that we just really physically haven't had the time to do. So I think it will help.
You know, my position, I've always argued and complained to you and given you a hard time because we didn't focus hard enough on retaining businesses, growing the bigger businesses, whether it's a hospital or the chicken processing plant or Fabtech. And that, I want to make sure that we're not losing that, and I hope we're gaining something there, because to me, that's going to be more important in the short term than even tourism to this county. So I think it's moving to the JDA, and I want to just confirm that and see that we don't have any difficulties.
You will not see, I think what you will see, and obviously I don't have crystal balls, being an American, but I think what you will see is a better concentration from all parties involved. And the nice thing about me being still so involved with the Joint Development Authority is there will not be a lapse in service. There will only be a reduced learning curve for the person coming in, and they will be able to do the job that they're hired to do, and I'll be able to do the job that y'all have hired us to do, even better. That's my personal opinion.
And from the Joint Development Authority side, I will state unequivocally that the existing business retention and expansion is very high on the priority list of that organization.
Yes.
And all the training that we have 2 days of training in Dawson a week or two ago, and they over and over emphasize the fact that most of your new business investment and new jobs will come from existing businesses. And so that is a fundamental part in the job description for the Economic Development Director. That's the second line item in there, is existing business retention and expansion. So that's a very positive direction for the organization. The other beauty of having House in the Chamber, in our environment, a lot of development, that new business development might occur, is likely to be tourism related, new business development. So there's a lot of overlap, and having that under the same roof and having a cooperative effort is going to be important.
I shouldn't say it this way, but I'm more concerned about retaining and keeping businesses than I am today in this economic environment than I am on brand new businesses. But that's my personal view of the world. But thank you. I
And I
appreciate
think
that.
that's in line with what.
Yeah, I agree with that,
JDA
Charlie.
is.
So I'm done. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
I apologize that I didn't get sent out.
Okay, discuss hiring of tax assessor's office staff. Do we have anybody here from the tax assessor's office? Actually, I think we really kind of covered that in our budgeting session, so, and I think this was placed on my list of agenda items before, they came up. So, I say we can just, move on. Okay, resolution authorizing the transmittal of Northwest Georgia Regional Commission, the updated community work program and capital improvements element for Gilmer County and the cities of LJ and East LJ. I did attend a public comment meeting yesterday at the East LJ City Hall, and there were no comments and there were no people other than me and Google. So, that we did have the public comment session, and that's all. We get right behind us, let's say no adverse comments. So, this is, as you know, something that we have to do every year, because we are assessing impact fees. So, hopefully I'll go with the additions for 2015, which are pretty much just a continuation of the years.
I'm not going to belabor it, and we ought to just, in fact, I'm just suggesting you sign it, give it back to the regional people, and we put it in the drawer for another year. It's a worthless piece of paper, and we don't need to waste our time on it.
Well, let me just.
No, Jim, this is the worst piece of
Well,
bureaucracy
I know it is, but if you don't do it,
I'm
Dallas.
saying to do
He's
it.
saying do it.
Oh.
I'm saying sign it.
You just said
It's one
it's
of
not
the
worth
strings that the government, both state and federal, attach to grant funding. So if you don't do it, you're shutting the door to
I understand.
lots of funds.
Are you good with
But what
it?
it says, we are going to do, what it says, we don't have money to do, and what it says, we don't want to be doing.
No
So
argument.
let's just put it in the drawer and move on.
But we've agreed that it's on the agenda.
Yes.
So,
And I'll make a motion to have you sign it name other than three, well, I can't say three, because I don't want to leave all eight.
I have, and I wish I hadn't.
I'm just telling you,
It's a necessary evil.
Right.
I would suggest that you read it very carefully.
pardon?
I would suggest you read it very carefully.
It should be read, because there's some things in there that are very disturbing.
Very.
But
But I-
again, we have no choice. Okay. Adopting the first reader to amend the Gilmer County Code as to Article 2 of Chapter 10 titled as alcoholic beverages. I know we don't have anybody here today that wants to speak to this. So-
Really?
No, I'm kidding. Okay, before I open the floor for comments, Travis and Dallas, y'all have, if it's the same thing that we voted to move forward with, last meeting, so whatever comments that y'all have.
I'd like to underscore just 5 things that it does not do. It does not establish a wet versus dry county. That's already been done. This deals with the unincorporated portion of the county only. It has nothing to do with what's done within the city limits of Elgin and East Elgin. It deals with beer and wine packaged sales only. There's no provision for distilled spirit sales. There's also no provision for pouring licenses. There is no provision for consumption on premises or within 300 feet of premises. So,
That's not quite
That's
true.
it.
except for the golf course.
No, that's not quite true, except for the wine tasting.
That's separate ordinance
Yes, it is.
that we're going to deal with in the future. So this ordinance tonight.
Okay.
The only exception to that is the golf course, which is declared exempt from consumption on the premises. So the discussions I've had, there have been some misconceptions, and they seem to revolve around these 5 things, and I just want to state that.
And I have 2 things, but Travis has already hit on one of them. We're not trying to turn this from a dry county to a wet county, so I just wanted, and you said that, but I just wanted to reiterate. And I do not believe, a lot of things I hear is, why do you want to bring more alcohol in the county? I don't believe this is going to bring more alcohol in the county. There's not a soul in Gilmer County that wants a beer that can't find one very quickly. What this is going to do is allow those businesses who otherwise legitimately could have beer and wine license to be able to obtain one, even if they're within 5 miles of somebody that's already got one or some of the other restrictions. So I am not trying to bring more alcohol into Gilmer County. I'm trying to turn it into a wet from a dry county. This is not about alcohol for me. This is about a business environment that we need to create.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes, sir.
Chairman, have you looked at the legal side if somebody questions the golf course having an exemption? If I'm somewhere else, I mean, have you looked at how you answer that legally if somebody wants a pouring license somewhere in the county? How you were able to write just the golf course? I mean, has that been?
Golf
There is no
doesn't have
pouring
pouring
license.
I didn't hear you.
There is no pouring license.
Well, it's consumption,
Consumption.
right? They can consume, so they can buy it and consume there.
Yes.
What is the difference? Just educate me on that.
You can't have beer on tap.
Okay, but, so then would somebody be able to challenge throughout the county to sell a can of beer and be able to sit there and drink it somewhere else as consumption? Challenge that. Would you be able, if I went down the road and I didn't have tap beer, but I had coolers, and you came in and I had a bar, could I argue that they're consuming a can of beer that I'm selling out of a cooler? I'm just asking for down the road if somebody challenged the golf course having an exemption.
First of all, if you have a bar in the unincorporated portion of Gilmer County, there's going to have to be several changes, I think, probably would have to be made. But if those changes were made and if you had a bar, of course you would be selling beer. I mean, that's like you have a bar, right?
Okay, all right, well, I just wonder, I understand consumption pour, I mean, I understand, I don't know enough about it, truly, I don't know, so I didn't think about tap, I don't think about, I'm just saying, if the golf course gets an exception to be able to take it out of a cooler, because they're not gonna have on tap, not, you can't get a frosty mug. But if they can get a can, and then they can do that, can someone else sell a can out of a cooler? I don't know, that's all.
Singles are sold all the time in the retail store.
Yeah, but you can't sit there and drink them.
Consumption is the only thing, but there's a state statute that allows it, because it's publicly owned golf course, you know, to.
Did you hear that, Brian?
What was that?
Because there's a state statute that, because it's a publicly owned golf course, we can go ahead and allow them to consume on premises without getting into a conflict with them.
I hear you.
Could I ask Sheriff Nicholson what his feelings are or what his beliefs the results of this will be?
Well, you're not going to like what I say, JC. I mean, I don't think. I'm not positive about that. You know, I've thought about this a lot. Ultimately, it's this. This is where I fall ultimately. State of Georgia is looking at legalizing marijuana. They've been looking at it for years. And it's coming, we're coming towards it. It's already been done in Colorado. Georgia's going to be doing it. Until then, until they legalize marijuana, we're going to be putting folks that grow it and possess it and smoke it in jail. The day they legalize it, we're going to quit putting them in jail. To me, it's nothing more than we got to know what the law is and we'll deal with it. I don't think that I agree with what Charlie said. With the changes that are being made, I don't see it increasing the availability of it at all. I don't see that it's going to increase the availability of it. What I do see is someone out on Roy Road may buy it, and I don't know this. I'm not. I think the commissioners can all say I've stayed out of their business on this. I did hear Mr. Cheek here a year or so ago. He applied for a license, I believe, under your administration, and I heard his argument. So I'm going to assume that he's looking for a license. Someone on Roy Road may go to Crossroads Grocery and buy beer and go home, even if they start drinking it at the point that they leave Crossroads Grocery, which is illegal, but they may do it. That's going to be better than them buying it in East LJ and start drinking it in East LJ, which, you see what I'm saying? I don't think it's going to increase availability of it. I really don't.
Well, it will. It will increase the availability. It will be in more locations. And anytime you increase the availability of it, you're going to increase the consumption of it. I can give you all kind of stories and all kind of statistics. I would like to ask especially the commissioners, have you ever seen anybody die from cirrhosis of the liver?
Yes, my grandfather.
It's not a pretty sight. Stacy and his chief probably would know more about this than anyone else. Have you ever seen one pulled out of an automobile that has been totally mangled by a drunk driver? If we can slow down the consumption, and I've sat and watched this discussion now in the commissioner's office, and I've seen it wrangle around, and I've seen it change and try to come up with the best solutions now for over 40 years. And it gets more lenient all the time. And I have saw the consumption of alcohol increase a great deal. There was no alcohol sales in the city of Lubbock or East Lubbock for years and years and years. And at that time, a person had the ability, their young children as they were growing up in their house, they had the ability to teach them that it was something that they should stay away from. Now, if they go to a checkout counter at one of the major stores in this county, and some of the most prominent people in the county or have it in their buggy, how do you teach your children, how do you keep them from becoming an alcoholic? Now, to me, this is not a religious thing. This has nothing to do with religion other than the moral part of it and the responsibility that at this point in time you three carry. You understand that if the number of stores in this county that carry alcohol increase, and that increase causes the death of someone, that you carry a large responsibility for it because of the changes that you're discussing making today. I could go on and on and on. I could tell you all kinds of stories, personal stories. Boils down to the fact that I have lived a full lifetime in one of the best communities in this country. And the way alcohol was distributed was one of the main reasons for that. I have saw the need for law enforcement increase 30-fold. The expense, the experts, the people who have studied this for years and years and years tell you that if the additional taxes that you take in from alcohol sales, the direct cost for that is 3 to 1. The indirect cost goes to 7 to 1 or better. And those statistic figures go on and on and on. But I would like to make the comment that personally, I think you're making a big mistake.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment. I'm going to read my comments, and I'm going to officially ask that these be put in the minutes verbatim, so I'm not misquoted. And I'd just like to do that. I've got about 8 points I'm going to make, and it's going to take a while, so bear with me if you will. I think there's many reasons that I oppose the changes that we're talking about, and I'm not mentioned that before, but I'm going to read them in detail. The first one is that the article itself, if you read the first section of that, talks about the purpose for this article was to promote the health and general welfare of the county. That's number one on this list of why we have this article in our code. The second one is to establish reasonable and ascertainable standards for the regulation and control of licensing and sales. And we are, in fact, with these changes, eroding some of those standards and that, in my opinion. The third one says that we are going to, this ordinance is to protect and preserve schools and churches. I will not allow that sentence to be in this ordinance if it's passed, because it's not true. We do not have anything in this ordinance that does that. The fourth item for why this ordinance is in place is to, this is a long sentence. It must have been written by a lawyer, David, but it says, giving effect to land use and to preserve certain residential areas, with reasonable considerations being given, among others, to the character of the areas and their peculiar suitability for particular uses. Congestion in the roads and streets with the general view of promoting desirable living conditions and sustaining stability of neighborhoods and property values. And then the last item in this article of the purpose for this ordinance is to prevent undesirable persons from engaging in or having any interest in alcoholic beverages. I think those are valid purposes for this ordinance, and we ought to live by those and not erode those. I also believe that if a vote, public vote were put to, this were put to a public vote, that it would not pass in this county. Now, that's my opinion. The majority of the people who have voted for me to represent them, I know oppose these changes. And the majority of the people who have contacted me either personally, by phone, or by email, have opposed these changes. Not all, I said the majority. A vote for these changes, I believe, is catering to a couple of special interest groups that will profit at the expense of others in our county. I don't believe there's any evidence that's been presented. In fact, I asked in writing to get any evidence of economic benefit for adding full-time jobs or increasing county revenues. I've received nothing in that. In fact, both Charlie and Travis have stated last month that there was no significant additional alcohol sales or increase in alcohol consumption. And I take those words for what they are. I agree. I believe exempting the government from laws that apply to private business is bad legislation. And by exempting the golf course, that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing that, and we've got enough cases in the federal government where they don't do what they say we have to do, whether it's health care or Social Security or other things. I think it is bad legislation, and that's what we're doing when we exempt the golf course from these particular rules. And I'm not going to read all the rules about related non-alcoholic sales requirements, prohibited activities, and consumption on the premises, and all of that. This ordinance, as it stands today, prohibits alcoholic beverages to be sold, possessed, or consumed by any person in any county park, school building, or school ground. Seems to me we're playing favorites here. We should prohibit all government properties and facilities from having those being sold, possessed, or consumed there. One comment that Chairman Ferris made last month was that we're going to use the state's distance rules, and the comment was made that whatever the state says is what we have to do. I didn't hear that, I didn't see that in the minutes, and I did. If I misquoted, I apologize, but I pulled that word out. And if it's true that we're just simply going to follow the state law, then we don't even need this ordinance. We can repeal it and save ourselves a lot of time. But, I wanted to make those comments, and I appreciate you listening to me.
I do have one question on what you said about you believe that all government entities should not be able to possess, consume, something. Was that what you said? When you said no government entity should be.
No, well, let me rephrase. I said, first of all, we shouldn't exempt the government from laws that apply. That was
And then after that.
And after that, I said, we should not, let me see where I actually wrote it down so I can quote you right.
We talked about parks and schools.
I said that we currently prohibit sales, possession, or consumption at any county park, school building, or on any school ground, and we should prohibit the same on all government facilities.
Which I assume means the golf course.
That would include the golf course. In fact, it's unfair because if we don't have in our county, but in other counties, they have both public and private, and they will not distinguish between both public and private, to be fair about it. So, all I'm saying is that we are.
So my question is, are you saying that not only should we not approve beer sales at the golf course, we should not allow possession or consumption of beer at the golf course? In other words, for those folks who are in
I am saying that we need to have the same rules for all county facilities. Yes. Yes, I am.
Charlie, are you still open for any comments?
Absolutely.
When you get time,
No, that's what we're doing.
Yesterday afternoon, I went down River Street, and there were several people sitting on the verandas and out on the porch with kegs of beer, drinking, having a good time, and, I think people are looking for a good time. They're looking for a way to escape the pressures of life. But when I turned back to look a little, there was 3 little children sitting on the sidewalk, looking up at the adults. To me, that those little children's judgment was being tainted of what they should do before they got adults. Adults were doing something that they were indulging in. I don't know what the end result will be with those little children, but I think we, as a little county nestled in the foothills of this state, need to think about the future of our children and the welfare of our families. Growing up with an alcoholic father, I had 3 siblings under me that lacked for the necessities of life because my daddy indulged in alcohol. It was something that the roadhouses provided back then, all the way up and down Highway 5, north and south. A lot of young people that I grew up with got hooked. They can't hold a job down today because they were hooked on alcohol. A lot of them got maimed up and killed in automobile accidents going from taverns to wherever they were going, maybe home or another party. But anything that we can do to try to hold a standard, a good standard for our people. Even the Supreme Court justices have made some decisions in the last few months that are appalling, should be to us. I don't want state government and federal government derailing my family. That's what has happened coming down from Washington. Now, I know you guys are under a lot of pressure from the state to abide by state rules and regulations, but if you fellows have to stand up against some of those, I'll stand with you. I don't want to see any of those little children that were on the sidewalk getting a hold of a beer or alcohol before it's their time. When they get adults, they can make those decisions. But till then, they need to be protected. Thank you.
According to statistics given to us by the sheriff's department, by the judges of this community, the parole officers, probation officers, back a few years ago, 90% or better of all the crime that's committed in this country and in this county is drug related. Alcohol is the #1 abused drug in this country by far, and it's legal. But any time that you alter the ability of someone to make a logical decision or to control their actions, you're in trouble, and Stacy's going to have to look.
Joey?
Well, I don't feel that you can legislate morality, and those 3 children that were looking at their parents or whomever drinking, if they weren't there drinking, they'd be sitting at home looking at them drinking. I mean, both of my parents were alcoholics, and I certainly know the difference between right and wrong. But if you make something illegal, people are going to get it anyway. Look at all the drugs that we have in this county and all across the country, and making them illegal has not made it less easy to get them. And look at what we've spent all this time on growth of the county. Gilmer County, when it did adopt alcohol, look at the businesses we have here that didn't go to Fannin County, and all the people that drive down here to spend money. So whether alcohol's good or bad, I'm not sure we can decide that, sitting here, but making it illegal is not going to help the county, and we can't make people make good decisions by just not making it legal. They're going to get the alcohol if that's what they want. If they don't want it, then they're not going to drink it. But I don't see how we can stop people from drinking by making it illegal. Just my opinion.
Anybody else?
Can I ask the sheriff? I'm sorry.
I didn't think I was gonna say anything, but, I think all of the men in my family were alcoholics. Both my grandparents and all of my uncles on both sides. And both of my grandparents, my grandfathers were born in the 1870s, 1880s. And there wasn't a beer joint on every corner, there wasn't a quick stop on every corner. And they still had it, and they still drank it, and they were still drunk. So I agree with this lady over here. I believe you can't legislate it. They're gonna get it, they're gonna drink it, and the morality has to be taught at home.
Let me make a couple of comments. I agree with your sentiment on the children. I would hate to have looked back and seen that. But I also agree with what Joanne said, and what she said about, it's about parenting. It's the parent's responsibility to make sure those children are placed in that situation. And if they're willing to place them in that situation, I believe they'll place them in that situation, whether it's down River Street or at home, or wherever else they may decide to go. So, to me, that's about parenting, and we, in my mind, we don't have the parenting today that we had when I was growing up, but that's probably a whole different issue. My daddy was killed in a car wreck when I was 13. I never really saw him drunk or know whether he drank. But after that happened, I very quickly realized that my granddaddy was an alcoholic. And for all of the rest of his life, he was an alcoholic. And he did die of cirrhosis of the liver. I watched him in a drunken condition. It made me, over all the years that I watched what he did and what he went through, it actually made me less likely to want to use alcohol than more likely. Because watching somebody do those things and go through those things and then die of it, it's not something that makes you want to emulate that. Or at least it wasn't for me. And hopefully it won't be for others. I grew up in a dry county. At least it was when I was growing up there. Now, I've had some folks from Gilmer County argue with me about this, and I won't really get into the merits of it, but in my mind, we were the capital of bootleg whiskey. It was a dry county, but believe me, I used to like to go squirrel hunting and all those things, and I learned real quickly. If I saw some radiators or some tubes or whatever, to squirrel hunt over there somewhere. And it was not an uncommon sight. People are going to do it. And that gets me back to, if this was a dry county and I was trying to argue to make it wet, then yeah, I would be trying to increase consumption. I would be trying to bring alcohol into the county. But as a wet county, as a county where convenience stores and other businesses already have the ability to get a beer and wine license, the problem that I see is with being selective to the extent that some can get it and some can't. And those who can are not unable to get it because of any character deficiency. They can't pass a background check or whatever. They're unable to get it because somebody down the road beat them to it. Or, they live too close to a residence or something. That's why I say, to me, this is about a business environment. If we continue with this as it's written, in my mind, Gilmer County is picking winners and losers. And I think Dallas, you and I probably will disagree on that, because I think you indicated that you felt that it was just the opposite. But in my mind, if we allow this to continue as it is, Gilmer County is in the business of picking winners and losers, and we don't need to be in that business. I don't think what we're going to see, if these changes are made, is an explosion of alcohol sales in Gilmer County. I don't think we're going to see more alcohol in Gilmer County. I think we'll see a redistribution of where it's sold. And I'll tell you right now, if I was a convenience store that currently had a beer and wine license, I'd be sitting here screaming tonight that this is not right, and don't do it because it would affect my bottom line. But what about those folks that otherwise would qualify for it, and they're struggling because they're not able to sell what their competitors can sell?
Can I make
It's just not right.
a short comment? I want you to say that. No.
I'm serious.
I talked to one convenience store that does sell it now, and I asked him some questions about his sales and his what benefited things, and we talked pros and cons. He basically told me, and you may help me with this, because he said, I really can't buy my beer wholesale or to sell. It costs me almost as much as it does to buy it at Walmart off the shelf. He had no margin.
Absolutely true. All my Coca-Cola products, I pay far more for them to deliver than I can go to Walmart. So I'm going to assume that beer is, in all likelihood, a similar situation.
And the question that I asked was, how do you pay for the refrigeration and the electricity and the cooling and the storage space and that when you don't have any profit there?
Or far less profit. Speaking of my case in particular,
Yes, sure.
am I or am I not being, is there a prejudice against me that the other convenience store owners don't feel because they already have their permit?
It may be, and you're saying, and let me rephrase what you said to see if I understand it, but you're losing business because they go to that store to buy other things, not your store.
There is a convenience store on the opposite side of the county from me, run by people that I know, very devoted Christian church-going people from Murray County. If you were to talk to either one of those husband and wife owners, they would tell you that in the business we are in, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to be successful. You are not personally going to reap the benefits, but you're not going to be able to provide the jobs for other people in the community, and you will struggle. I'm about 108 hours a week right now, whereas I would gladly turn it over to responsible management, managers, and employees. But the other side to that is, with the slim margins that there is, and I have, over the last 2.5 years, I have gotten an education in the business. And And all education is expensive, as one of my professors from Mary once told me. You're not going to make your million selling beer, you're not going to make it selling gasoline, cigarettes. Both my parents died of that one. The lottery is a financial wash, but you make it on the whole. If someone, I've gotten good response, let's say, on my pizza. Given the opportunity, folks really aren't going to stop to buy my pizza if they're going on into town in the evening because they want to get a 12-pack of beer. They're then catching a couple of pies for $10.99 at Domino's. I'd like to have the opportunity to prove that side of the market wrong, that our community out on Cartagena can provide in its own. That kind of environment, community, family. If anybody's been in my store, I think over the last 2.5 years, we've proven that that can happen. However, I won't say it's certainly not during the week that I'm having to answer the question, do we or do we not sell beer? It's generally speaking on the weekends. From people who don't know, because people in the community know. I always state, I would never need a sign. I would not need signage one out by the road. Hence the 100 feet to a private residence. Because within 48 hours, anyone who is having to drive all the way into town to get a 12-pack of beer would know that this is part of what Crossroads Grocery can provide, so they don't have to go to town, so that they can stay closer to home. I can't, from my store, visually see Crossroads Fellowship. I've never heard an argument from anyone at that church against. I respect the church. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm concerned that the state has chosen, due to some power of separation of church and state, that they had to remove that. And I never knew that. I've never read formally the state. I have always focused on the county ordinance, and at times I felt like I knew it better than any attorneys I consulted with on it, and or county, because I went over and over and over. But
Can I throw one
Go
comment
ahead.
in?
Before you do, I think Pauline.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Jerry.
and I wanted to respond really to both of you, especially Crossroads Groceries, because of where Crossroads is located out in the very far end of the county. From a safety point of view, if you've had a beer or two at home and realize you need a 6-pack or whatever, and you're going to drive 52 or Big Creek Road or Roy Road, after you've already had 2 beers, to go all the way to the Food Lion or something to buy beer, believe me, you'd pay the extra price to go to Crossroads Groceries if you would be allowed to buy it out there. It'd be much safer for the county to go a couple blocks to a local store, and that's what people do when they have that ability. They don't have to drive all the way to town on those narrow, windy roads. And it's to say that he can't sell beer when most people, like you said, you wouldn't have to put up a sign. Everybody just assumes that you could probably buy a 6-pack of beer there. But to say that you've got to drive 12 extra miles in the dark on a bad road because that's what the law in the county says doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me.
I'll be very quick. Actually, the state law allows the county to exempt golf courses and airports from the sale restrictions, interesting enough. I did pull the FAA, having been a pilot, I pulled the FAA aviation regulation that says no crew member should attempt to act as a crew member of a civil aircraft within 8 hours of consumption of any alcoholic beverage, et cetera, while having a 0.04% by weight or more alcohol in the blood. Just an interesting sidelight that I want to throw out there. So if we ever have a restaurant at the airport, we'd be covered if we add that to this ordinance, but I'm not suggesting that. The only other thing.
Are you making a motion?
No, I didn't. But it would be legal.
State allows for it.
The state allows for it, is all I'm saying, yeah. The other comment I want to make, and this is a technicality, but David had discussed, I have 28 specific comments on the changes in the ordinance. Some of them are editorial, some of them are meaningless or wordsmithing. Some of them are to correct some completely conflicting paragraphs in this ordinance as it stands today, in the way it's drafted and written. Unintentionally, not just in the changes that were made, but actually in some of the things we saw in previous parts that were left in there. I would like to have the opportunity to review those comments somehow, or let you review them as well, between now and the final vote on this. Because I think it would clean it up and make it better legally, if I'm stating it right,
It
David.
would be voted on tonight, though, to commence that. And most of it, Charlie Travis, is simply changing like lowercase chapter.
There's a lot of editing,
Lowercase
yes.
chapter of the KC. I'm not sure, Dallas, I recall,
I could
What I would say is, let's take that up then tonight. We're gonna have in 1 hour, we're gonna have public comment on this. We gotta get through the rest of this. So what I would say at this time is we've had some comment time. Let's move on. And in an hour, we can do comments all over again. Because I don't want to come up at 5 o'clock when we're gonna have to go up to the public comment section and not have unfinished business.
Yeah, I understand that. And all I wanted to do and make this last comment was that I don't want to have any conflicting sections within this, and there are a couple.
We can work through the rest tonight.
We just need to work through it. That's what I want to bring out. And whenever we do that, that's fine with me.
Let's move to awarding of the RFP for removal and replacement of a portion of the roof at the Gilmer County Detention Center. It looks to me like we only had one bid.
It was slightly more than we thought, but not that much, wasn't it? 100, what did we see?
130.
130, yeah. I'm actually good with it. From what I read, unless someone else knows something I don't know.
It looked like a good proposal to me. And of course, being the only proposal.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm just with it.
And as far as, have you seen it, somebody from the sheriff's side? I have.
Are y'all okay with it?
I don't, if it meets your specs and your needs,
You're playing with good.
I'm good.
All right. Authorize the execution of the agreement for transition operating assistance for the Georgia Department of Transportation for 2016 operating assistance for public transportation services.
Sign it and get it on with. We keep doing this every month. We have
I
something
think
for
that
that.
would be my statement.
Unbelievable bureaucracy.
We'll get you a bumper sticker.
I need one. Stamp it.
Commissioners of Gilmer County to assure compliance with the Constitution of the State of Georgia by assessing and providing for the collection of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on general obligation sales tax bonds to be issued by the Gilmer County School District in the aggregate principal amount of $10 million, as authorized as an election of health and purpose on March 17, 2015, pursuant to and in conformity with the Constitution and statutes of the State of Georgia and for other purposes.
I don't know what that is, I don't have anything on that.
Well, the school board wants to issue $10 million in bonds.
Actually, it's changed, I believe. It's actually $9,160,000.
Oh, wow.
But what this is it's a resolution that it should ease cost revenues be the collection insufficient to satisfy the debt obligation. The Board of Education as the recommending authority, and y'all as the levying authority would impose an item on the upcoming bills that show the payment of that.
I have a problem.
I have a problem with that. First of all, I didn't have any say in what they're gonna use it for. I have no control over what they use it for, and you want me to take responsibility for making sure that the debt's paid.
It's because y'all are the levying authority, they're only the recommending authority.
So if we don't approve it, they can't vote.
Actually, I think in situations we have to approve it.
We have to approve it, but you just signed it, and we will vote, because I won't vote for it.
Julian?
Well, also, the Board of Education refused to designate the East Blotch had to be used for bond payments first, like the county did on their bonds. They refused to say they could spend the money on the bond payments. So if they spend it on everything else and there's no money left for the bond payments, then you all have to pay it.
Well, we'll have to raise taxes.
All y'all what you're doing is collecting, that's, it'd be.
Well, we'd have to raise the taxes.
We all raise the taxes, yes, we
We're on number
do.
5.
It'd be a bond.
And,
2000, what is it, 2000?
And-
East Blotch bond, sort of like your bond that you have on your tax bill already. You've already got a bond millage rate. It would be identified as a 2015 East Blotch bond.
Why?
But that's raising taxes.
But it would be the school board, in fact, that would be creating the rates and taxes, not y'all.
Kind of like when the school board tells us their millage.
I might agree to this, whatever you said here, all that legal stuff about providing for the collection of it, if we specify that it can only be used first for the bond repayment.
because you can't, I mean.
We don't have that authority.
The voters voted, but Mr. Clark has set me straight, and I don't mean like that, he wasn't ugly about it, but he set me straight 3 years ago when they sold the last bond. And I went up there and begged Will Beatty and former chairman here, and Danny Hall to vote no on it, and he let me know in so many words it was a formality. And it just bugs the daylights out of me that you have to sit there and vote on a formality. Why don't the state just make it happen? The reality is, you know, why don't you use it for some leverage? Tell them just wait till next month, come on over and have a meeting, see if the Board of Education, the chairman, and commissioners can all get on the same page and jihad a little bit. I mean, you don't have a meeting with the Board of Education. We have talked, when you guys were running for election, I think all of you heard this at one time or another, or supported or said that you would like to see quarterly meetings or something like that, with, some Board of Education meetings to get everything together. I've even heard through the rumor mill that you'd like to maybe get one of the mills back over this way. So I don't know, this is a big table, won't you invite them over and discuss it?
Okay, wait a minute, also,
Sorry.
on the East Blotch thing, I mean, I got up there when they voted, the county, the residents, we voted, and they specifically, deliberately had a special election so very few people would go. But they don't need this money right now.
That's
They've
right.
got millions in the East Blotch Fund, not in the reserve, in the East Blotch funds. Most of this is for building the agricultural center. And I got up there and begged them, they have the ability and the authority to issue bonds, but wait till you need the money. They do not need the money now, they don't need it in 2016, they can't even start building the thing, they haven't done the plans. Wait until they need the money. But the bond people have told them, oh, interest rates are going up, and as the reason I asked Andrew, aren't they going down? They're gonna start going down right now. Nobody knows whether they're gonna go up or down. And if they go up 0.25%, if we don't pay or issue them for 2 years, look how much money we'll save. It'll be a lot more than the 0.25% they might go up. So why are they issuing these bonds now when they've got millions in the bank?
That's something that
And so,
is for them to do, and we don't have anything to say about it.
right, the only say you have is approving them, so don't approve them.
Let me ask you this, Dave.
Actually, you're not approving the bond. I want to make that clear. That's-
You're
No.
Yeah,
co-signing.
but don't co-sign it.
We're saying that.
You're co-signing.
I don't understand it.
Well, we're
I
saying-
don't know what I don't know what I'm signing.
Okay, what we're saying is that if they can't pay for it, we'll give them a mill or two or whatever it takes.
Actually, it's not, you're not giving them the mill, you'd be collecting the mill on their behalf.
No matter what they tell you, Mr. Parrish, you're gonna raise taxes.
It's gonna be identified. It's the same as though you already do with your tax bill. There is probably 70% that's collected for the school board as it stands. 74, so, I mean, you're already collecting for them.
Yeah.
So, it's not like you would be taking a mill from your side.
But you know, David, when taxes are raised, most of the people look at their tax bill and they'll throw it down and they'll say, "That's blame commissioner."
Well, I'm not saying that the commissioner's going to get accused of increasing taxes, I'm not saying that at all. But from the prospect of refusing to do this, I don't know that y'all want to open up that can of worms at this point in time, because for one, I don't know that y'all got good leverage with something that's going on with your own collection issue. I mean, that's probably.
No, but I bet you we could have enough leverage to get them to pick with us.
Yeah.
David, what I don't like doing is,
But
let me explain what I don't like to do. Sometimes you have to do things you don't like to do. I do not like telling people that it's okay to increase the debt of the taxpayers of this county by $10 million when they didn't have to. And if I agree to do this, that's what I'm basically telling them. That I am okay with raising the debt of this county and the taxpayers' obligation by $10 million. And I'm not okay with that.
But they're a separate legal entity, and I mean, they've got their own authority, and I mean, that's the reason there's.
Then why am I doing this?
Because you're the collecting agency. The county's the only collecting agency for this type of tax.
I mean,
So will the bond issuer not
That's
issue
the
them if they're not
taxpayers'
guaranteed?
Yeah, I understand.
That's right, Commissioners.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. And I know that in the end, this is going to be a yes vote. It'll have to be.
I don't know.
One way or another. Let me ask you this, is there any reason why this has to be voted on tonight as opposed to, as an example, August the 29th, when we meet to discuss the village rates?
It's my understanding that they are voting on this tonight themselves, and that the
That's not my concern.
that the bonds have been actually sold, so there could be some.
Oh, what?
We don't
That's
need to do
pretty
Not sold,
presumptuous.
But the bonds have been priced, I guess, dude. Just like y'all were in a situation where you had already identified the year.
Here's what I want.
Well, it's an Iranian.
I'll vote yes on this because I do understand this is a formality.
I won't.
But I don't mind at all saying that you're gonna have to meet with me first. Because I'm having trouble getting these folks to meet with me on a separate issue that I really need to meet with you.
Exactly.
So I'm not above using it as leverage for a meeting.
You got a joint meeting with the two.
No, I'm talking about just me and I'm talking about a meeting such that no advertising has to be done.
But are the two folks going to be comfortable with that and with their ability to participate?
It's not,
We're familiar with the situation.
Yeah, we are.
Well, if you're gonna meet with them, are you gonna call a meeting to come back and report to these two? Because it's not an executive session item.
Anything that I were to decide in that meeting would have to be approved by the full commission. Just as anything decided in that meeting would have to be approved by the full Board of Education.
So So David, would they issue, they won't issue, the bond issuer, are they willing to issue the bonds if they're not guaranteed to be collected by the county?
I don't think it
Yeah,
can.
they won't- if the resolution doesn't pass tonight, it'll put a roadblock on that transaction.
David?
Like I said, I'm concerned because it is a formality and it might send, I do remember when I first became a county attorney in 2005, one of the posts did something and made a statement, and I will simply say fired a crossbow, or fired the cannonball across the bow of the ship of the school board, and it took. And I don't know the relations have actually gotten better up until about a year or so ago. So it soured, and it soured from 2005 probably until 2000, probably about 2010 or 11. And that was because of the...
You're telling me we have to do this and pass this, well, no, wait, to pass this resolution so that we can properly collect the bond debt service.
Should the e-SPOS be insufficient to pay?
We don't have to do that for their own budget when we collect their own taxes?
Actually, we do.
Oh, you do. That's why you passed the millage rate on the same night. You vote on that millage rate.
They're recommending authority, you're the levy authority, they only have the ability to recommend.
So,
And you take that.
it sounds to me like we've already done this when we did it for their millage rate.
No.
No.
Well, you did for their millage rate.
This is only should there be a deficiency in the collection of the e-SPOS that would not allow for payment of those bonds.
There's another thing worth considering here. As we become more involved in economic development efforts here, and you start talking to a larger entity, one of the things that's going to be on the table, any community they look at, is tax abatements. In our community, if the school board is not on board with a tax abatement package,
Well, they are not today.
but straining the relationship could affect that decision.
I agree with you, Travis.
On the other hand, what about them straining the relationship with us?
Hey, gentlemen, the county to the north, I know you never like to hear this, they haven't bought a school bus out of their general fund in 5 years. They bought it out of East Plaza. They have a performing arts center that everybody brags about and everybody wants, paid for it, never sold any bonds. They've got a track. They've got artificial turf. They've got a track, artificial turf we keep hearing, paid for it, never sold a bond. Bond-free, debt-free, paid for it, painted all their schools, built all their schools, didn't sell a bond. Now, I understand the argument, but I just get tired of the poor mouthing over there, $10 million selling the bonds in this county, and you are co-signing them tonight. They have enough e-SPOS money coming in to do the projects they want. They do. We have done the math on their e-SPOS that they get in. Right, Joey? They have enough to do all of it, but they want to buy them bonds up front. So I don't know who the winner is, but they want to sell $10 million tomorrow and can't answer why. That's how simple it is. And you do, in layman's terms, co-sign if they run short. So I'm sorry for that, but I'm tired of going to these other counties and county to the south of you, call down there.
I am okay with the idea that the Board of Education is its own separate entity, answerable to the people of Gilmer County.
That's the way it's over.
They get a higher percentage rate than any other county in our county. They get 74%.
But let me say this, and I'm getting back to the relationship between BOE and BOC. I think, and Travis makes a good point, I think it's essential that there be a good working relationship between the two entities. I don't know what it's been like in the past, but I can tell you right now that the impression that I have in trying to work with the Board of Education is that we are the red-headed stepchild. And they will do what they are going to do, and it is them, in my mind, that is not interested in a good relationship with the Board of Commissioners, not vice versa. And what I'm talking about is the contemplation of doing something fairly desperate here to drive home a point that we do have to work together. We need to meet represent the Board of Commissioners, Dr. Wilkes, maybe a couple of the Board of Education members. We need to have a meeting. We have an issue between us that needs to be resolved. Nobody wants to meet. So, I'm not saying, they can't have their bonds. I'm just saying if we postpone this decision until September the 29th,
You postpone it to September the 29th, I anticipate there might be some financial repercussions to them because of the stage in which they are at. Like I said, I've seen that relationship so sour that you couldn't get anybody to even acknowledge the other party. And it has come, it's gotten much, much better. I know it was really in JC's term as the chairman that there began to become some good open dialogue. And unfortunately, they've changed superintendents several times. But I think
it's not that they're hostile to us, it's that they ignore us.
well, but I think maybe the better thing to do then would be to ask for an open meeting between the two entities. And just do it, but no, put it in writing and submit it to the board itself. And at least that way you know that you made this first step forward.
If you can convince me and show me that we are not becoming co-signers and with them on this $10 million, I will reluctantly agree.
Alex, we're co-signers with them, in the sense that you're saying. We're co-signers with them for their $50 million budget. I mean, it's.
You know how you go past that $1 million to pay your bond? It's gonna show up on the school board.
Agency.
You're a levying authority. You're the only.
This is essentially what happened with the water authority. We had a co-sign.
No, that was different.
I'll tell you what I'm going to propose.
How was it?
We got to participate, we got to talk about what it was for, we had some say, so we have no voice in this 10 million. We have an opportunity, whether we have a legal case.
I'll tell you what I'm going to propose. I'm going to propose, for my part, I'll go ahead and vote for this. I'm going to write them a letter requesting that meeting. And if that gets ignored, I'm done with it.
I don't think it's going to be ignored because the news media has now picked up on it. I suspect that Ryan's going to make that the headline on the top of his blog.
Well,
So
be gentle.
But again, be mindful that there is a new superintendent, and so we don't know. I suspect that she would want to look for.
Give it 30 days, I have no problem.
So there is much more benefit to a harmonious relationship than there is to.
I agree. And I'll write the letter and I'll make it formal. But I can't tolerate a relationship where we act on their request because we're essentially required to, and our request to them are ignored.
Are we, with this resolution, are we authorizing Charlie to sign a piece of paper?
Let me look at it.
There's not a document here.
There's not. It just came in earlier.
Because I don't mind letting Charlie sign that document. No, I.
Thanks a lot.
It is only Charlie's signature, but I'm sure that the drafter.
Y'all are getting drug along.
I'm sorry, Charlie.
I'm sure that the drafter of the document would add additional signatures lines to Charlie requested.
I'm afraid I have to accept the fact that it's a necessity of life, just like those other two documents we have to deal with.
Yeah, but it's just like Mr. Sanford told you earlier when you were talking about alcohol and pushing back on the state. We have heard from former chairman here for 4 years what it's like at the state. We have heard from you since your administration started what it's like at the state. And he said, for one, he'd stand behind you. And I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to this kind of stuff, you've got people that will stand behind you. And this is not a direct pushback against the school. It's a direct pushback in the way the state has it set up to where you have to cast a vote. You are casting a vote tonight.
The citizens of this county expect us to start being fiscally responsible. You're just letting us go into deeper debt, and even though it's not the county, the citizens of this county think it's the county. They don't see the difference between the two. They don't need $10 million in bonds.
Same dollar coming out of their pocket.
But again, gentlemen, they're their own governing authority and they weigh the merits of that.
Joe?
I just know that they're pushing back on the Board of Education has even bigger ramifications than what, I mean, because Kevin, Park and Rec, they use the facility of basketball courts all winter long. There's not a standalone county basketball court, so pushing back is just going to create a divide that very well could have bigger.
Did they call and ask you? Did they call and say that they needed you?
You don't even have the
explain
documents in
this?
front of you, man.
Jolene, I understand your point about the citizens of the county won't want this. It's almost like what we were talking about a while ago with the parenting. The citizens of the county, if they don't want this, need to elect different BOE members. If they are opposed to this.
This was pushed down the
It's
pipe.
like parenting.
This was pushed down the pipe. I know the BOE, and I agree with that, but this was pushed down the pipe by the former superintendent of schools, and this is not Dr. Wilkes' proposal. And I know he had a board, and the board could have, but there's a lot that goes with this, Chairman Parrish. There was the Sachs thing, there was fear, there was this, there was that this went down the road. I'm serious.
So I find it difficult to believe, though, that the former superintendent or anybody could ram this down the Board of Education's throat without their approval of it. I mean, that's what they're there for, is to examine this sort of thing and make a decision.
But it happened. It happened.
I agree that the members of the Board of Education are to be held accountable for this. And like I said, I did everything I could to get them to at least wait till they needed the money. So what is the urgency? I don't know. Now it's on the counties, and you're supposed to rubber stamp it, and it just never stops, okay? There's no way to stop the debt.
If the surrounding counties were not providing their children with education, I understand you're not the Board of Education without debt. If they were not providing education, I can understand. And I understand where you guys are at. I clearly do. I have one question. I promise I'll be quiet on it. Where did we get on the resource officers? Are you still paying half the bill and them paying half the bill? Or, because we were going to talk to them about more. So where we stand on that?
I did talk to them about more and they refused.
Yeah, okay, thank you. They were resource officers. Come on, guys. I mean, we can't even get them to come to the table and talk to you about a resource officer, and you're handing the olive branch, so what, it'll continue to get better?
No, they came to the table and talked about it.
Yeah.
They just didn't necessarily agree with it.
Charlie,
I apologize.
I think we made the point.
We
Still got a lot to cover. I will live with,
What have we decided then?
with this, unfortunately.
Okay. Final decision approval by the Gilmer County Board of Commissioners on the recommendation by the Gilmer County Planning Commission approving the application for amendment to Gilmer County land use, Lansdowne Adams, from residential low density to A1 agriculture. I'm not going to read this whole thing about it. Just Lansdowne Adams, R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural. Do we have anybody here today that wants to speak to that specifically? Any comments? Shane?
No, matter of fact, 6 through 10 is, I don't know if we need to read through every one of them. Every one of them was advertised, mail certified letters. We notified the property owner to put signs up. I don't see anybody in here. I've not had a phone call on anyone on this list. If you want to read everyone, fine, but otherwise.
All I want to do is just read the name and what it's doing and see if anybody's here to speak to it.
Okay.
I'm only going to make a quick comment or question on one of them. Can I just do that now before we go?
When we get to it.
Oh, okay. It'll be
Okay.
quick.
Trout Haven, residential low density to A1 agricultural. Would anybody like to speak to that one?
So can we move along?
No, Trout Haven sounds
I
like somewhere else.
won't even.
Okay. density to A1 agricultural. Anybody here to speak to that? Carter Cave Vineyards, A1 agricultural to A1 agricultural conditional use.
And that's just an expansion of their,
It's property he bought actually last year and combined with his existing parcel, and to do so, you know, to use it as part of the winery, he also has to get it. That's right.
Anybody here to speak specifically to that? Roger and Wendy Whiteman, R1 residential low density to R1 residential low density with conditional use. Anybody here to speak specifically to that?
My specific question was to Shannon, and he already, I think, somebody answered this, but if I have a attached garage and I put a mother-in-law suite above it, I don't have to file for a conditional use. But if it's detached, I have to, is that correct?
That's exactly right. Well, the ordinance, it actually states as a, what, they, you said something?
No,
Oh,
It seems kind of strange.
It is, well, then you would still have to address well, technically, I'm not run into that, but the ordinance defines it as a guest house. So typically when we run into that, it's usually a detached structure. In that case, they would have to apply for conditional use. Now, if they have it, I guess if they have it inside, you know, people now is real popular. They're putting kitchens in their basements and for all intents and purposes, it could be used as a separate dwelling, but it's permitted up front. Andrea, approves that with the septic system, but I guess the way we look at that, Dallas, is could they possibly use it as a separate living quarters or a separate residence? And in that case, you're not most likely going to rent above your garage to a total stranger, whereas you could if you had a detached structure with separate plumbing, kitchen, toilet facilities, the whole 9 yards. So unless David interprets that differently, that's when we get into it, is when it is a complete separate structure.
Just seems odd, but I'm okay.
We're okay with that. Resolution to approve air conditioning contract for Civil Air Patrol office at the airport. They're paying for it, and I'm good with it.
as long as they understand that if somebody comes along and wants to rent it,
They've acknowledged that.
well, I just want to make that clear publicly one more time, and I'll get there.
Mr. Chairman, can you not set a price at the air conditioning and say it's X, it's $8,000, and then tell them that you want $900 a month, so for 18 months, I need to do the math, I hope I'm not wrong, but for X months, they're there. Can't you do something like that to make it fair to them, make it fair to the county, that if the people invest this kind of money in an air conditioning system, which is very nice, I've never been opposed to Civil Air Patrol, I support them 100%. If they go out there and invest all this money in air conditioning like they have, can't you just say, hey, it is $7,000, and if we were renting that, we would want X, so we're going to give you 12 months that you can't be kicked out, 16 months. I mean, good with, and Post Commissioner Kraut saying as long as they understand that somebody comes along and wants to rent it, I mean, wouldn't that be the right thing to do?
How long have they been there so far?
I don't know.
They've been there 5 years.
So they've been there 5 years.
We don't advertise it, and I'm not asking you to advertise it.
No,
In
that's
public,
not-
I'm not asking to kick them out.
That's not my point. What I'm saying is they've already gotten 5 years of rent-free there.
Yeah, well, let's be fair to them. It started from whenever it starts. But who's paying the? I had
I'm
this.
not anticipating that they'll get kicked out.
I don't want them kicked out. I don't even like those words.
I wouldn't be averse to that, but they haven't asked for one thing.
Well, I just think for the citizens, if citizens come in and start saying, well, this, that, I'm just saying for something you always have in your hands to say to the citizens, the other 28,000. It's like the whole time we ever talked about the golf course, I always said, well, there's the rest of the county that the golf course belongs to.
I don't have a problem with that if that's what they want to do. But 3 or 4 months ago, they were working on a lease, an actual lease arrangement, because we don't have a lease with them right now. that actually was, mixed at the Civil Air Patrol upper levels, not by us.
I understand, I understand,
I'm just saying this would have to go to those upper levels too. I don't care if that's what.
I've been asked twice, are they gonna pay the power bill, or are we just gonna?
No, they don't pay the power bill.
Okay.
That is, Brian, that is the reason that this comes to this body, is because they do not pay anything.
I understand, but when they kick on that AC, it's going, that $100 lights they're using is gonna go to $350, so that's just reality.
They already have portable AC units, 4 units in there. It was put in there last year before last. There's no, I'm not arguing with you. The power bill, and I hope the commissioners understand that, and the Airport Advisory Board certainly understands it, and I understand it. The power bill is gonna go up, but at the same time, the value of the Civil Air Patrol squad to this community is a valuable asset. And the airport is glad to be their host. They have made numerous improvements there out of their own pocket to the facilities. This would just be one more. And, you know, they do the rules from the outset. And I would hate to see us get into a situation of a lease or something like that when the upper echelon of the Civil Air Patrol doesn't allow it anyway. And then have a potential tenant to come, as we almost did, and be bound by that lease.
Can I ask you a question? Sure. Did you report on the airport earlier of the increases and the use and this and this and this, right?
Right.
You reported on this airport is starting, we got more planes in the hangar. We sold more fuel.
Right.
We did this, right?
Right.
What if that possibility came that this airport's like the golf course? I don't hear nothing but bragging about this golf course, and we may have to get a starter on Saturdays because we got so many people playing and tee times. Now we got the grill open. What if this airport continues to do like you report every month? I'm happy for it. I'm happy with your report. And that person says, you know what? I'd like to lease that upstairs. That flies in. What if? Everything's always okay with these agreements until something goes wrong. That's just all there is to it. I foresee, I'm 100% behind the Civil Air Patrol, 100% behind them at the airport, benefit from them, love them. I'm with you.
Let me just say that
That's all
if
I'm
they want to do it this way, I'm fine with it.
I support you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
This took a long time to say.
Actually, I think he got that out relatively quickly.
Charlie, get out.
What? What did you say?
I just said, you do see what his hat says.
A friend of mine got that, so yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to put out, I shot from the hip while ago when you asked me that question. I should have looked it up, but I mean, what the definition says on that, Dallas, is a guest house is a lodging unit for temporary guests as an accessory building. No such lodging shall be rented or otherwise used as a separate dwelling. So it does define it as an accessory building. So you first have to have the principal residence, and so it would have to be. It does. So that does answer it in the definition there. I knew I had that on my mind from somewhere.
Okay. Resolution to approve moratorium on the issuance of business license and/or permitted use, conditional use for halfway houses, drug rehabilitation centers, or other facilities for treatment of drug dependency. You have any comments on that?
I have questions.
Yeah, I kind of know the background. I've heard some things, but I'd like to know the situation.
James, you want to give us the background on that?
On the bus form,
come to our office asking about that property there for a halfway house. And the business license was issued to them for that. And then after we done that, then we started to realize, I guess, the potential danger that we might be in by doing that, by that being a halfway house in the middle of Buckhorn subdivision up there, a golf course, and this becoming a reality, and all of the property owners up there opposing this. And right now, it's on hold. We placed it on hold for that reason, and moratorium, we're looking at that, so.
What's the purpose for the
Well,
moratorium?
what we have to do is actually, right now, they can do the lunch. So what we have to do is we have to change the ordinance so as to disallow that sort of use, which is going to take.
Not to disallow it, but to change it. It's, right now, it's a permitted use. It's a mistake. Let's just simply acknowledge that it is a mistake, because the state statute is on point on this, that when you have this type of facility, you need to give 6 months of a proposed zoning decision. That way you give the neighborhood the opportunity, be it residential, commercial, whatever, the opportunity to provide some input. But it has permitted, when it should be, instead of a P, it should have been a C. And it's scrivener's error. It's scrivener's error. Well, no. And it didn't come to our attention until after the application was made for the facility, and then we looked at what the piece of property was actually in fact zoned, which is commercial. That's where the mistake is at. So really, the moratorium is to stop the issuance of the business license, and then it's going to be to go back into the land use ordinance and change that from a P to a C. But now that's got to go through a different process. You can't issue a moratorium with respect to the, you can't change it without, you cannot change the P to a C other than going by the land use standards and procedures act.
Which is
The
going to take.
moratorium cannot revoke or suspend a previous license. Is that correct?
Dallas, that's,
Yes, a yes or no question?
no, I'm not going to yes or no that time. I'm going to argue that it was issued in error. It's a ministerial, it was issued. It should have been issued on further examination. We remedied it probably the day of the issuance.
Not long after that,
But it was real close.
It was the same day.
So it would be our argument that, hey, no, this was issued and my mistake.
I have a problem with that. First of all, I do not quite agree that the state law is in total conflict with our code. If there was a zoning change, which the state law assumed that you have to have a hearing, and there has to be so many days in it and everything, and I understand all that.
That would require in this instance.
No, there was no requirement.
There was no requirement for zoning, rezoning.
Use in that plan.
So I would argue, I'm being devil's advocate, but I want to be sure we're on, I want to be sure we're on.
I wish you wouldn't make too big of an argument today.
I know, but I want to be sure we're on solid ground here, because if we screwed up, I don't want the people who put the application in to come back to us and claim we harmed them.
Well, I'm not going so far as to even acknowledge that there's been harm, because again, it was identified, I feel like within a 24-hour period. I think it was identified shortly after it was issued. I believe Karen called me, asked me about it, and I came up there and looked at it, and we sent an email back out saying it was issued by mistake. And it's not that we don't want to deny the facility.
I
We just
understand.
want to correct the P to a C.
Clarify that for me, P to C where?
P is a permitted use. It's under the table of use C is a conditional use. The thing about a conditional use is, as you've seen in the RFF investments, or what you more commonly know as the Deep South Farm, is that there has to be an application made to the planning and zoning department, which is a zoning decision, which catches in that state statute, which requires a 6 months. Yes.
Really, it's a asking for permission. They either take it before the board can either allow it, not allow it, or allow it with every condition that they want to attach to it.
Very quickly, I'm going to ask my questions. Who has the legal authority to approve business licenses for the county?
I would suspect that that's going to be the planning commission.
And Karen delegated that administrative function, that's fine. And that's true for renewing license, business licenses?
Yes.
And it's true for revoking business licenses? I believe the ordinance says the Board of Commissioners. I believe it says the Board of Commissioners have the authority to revoke. I want to be sure we're on solid ground, that's all I'm doing. Was there a written statement given to the applicant of why it was suspended or revoked? That's the next question I have. And if so, I'd like to see that written statement.
I don't know if David attached anything.
No,
I'm
Karen
not sure
said-
exactly. Karen has the one that has
I just wanted to
corresponded.
have that.
She has corresponded with them more than anybody.
It's a phone call.
Next question, and I'll move on. Have we refunded the application fee?
Not yet.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
We'll double check.
If the planning commission has the ability to approve, renew, and revoke the business licenses, don't they also have the authority to put a moratorium on?
That would be an act of.
How long will our moratorium be for?
My recommendation would be for until December the 31st.
Is that for all, or was it?
Just for this particular facility, the halfway houses, the building.
Do you know
That
if in their application they had any federal assistance and funding? Or is it totally strictly 100% privately funded?
I'm
We
not
have to check it to see.
I'm not as familiar with the entity that was expressing interest in it. I do know they were in the state of Michigan, that's about all I know.
I think it's a private facility, 100%, but there again, Karen is one of the issues of business license. She's, I believe, turned right around and revoked it and refunded as well. And I think she's corresponded several other times since then that you might want to talk to her about, because I'm not exactly sure what that correspondence has entailed or what questions they've asked, or I'm just not 100% sure.
Let me just for the record say that application was approved June 19th. And today's August 13th.
David would like to.
And this is the first I've heard of this.
Well, the reason being is
And
that,
probably the first that Travis has heard of it. I don't know about Charlie.
the reason being is that when it initially occurred, we thought everything had been resolved that very day. And then they have continued to come back and knock on the county's door as far as getting some additional. What they've asked for now is the application to apply for them to have that hearing. They're not maintaining that they wish to.
Basically, they're trying to make a conditional use application out of it.
And that's, to be honest with you, that's the thing that needs to occur out there in that subdivision, because if not, then, I won't ever say I'm not sympathetic to the applicant, okay? Not based upon where they're wishing to place that business. It just doesn't, doesn't fit safe.
My understanding is we're talking 50, 60 or more employees.
That is the amount that Karen had indicated is 60 employees, but,
Just as a financial
yeah.
piece of this pie. It's not a small deal.
Where is that property located?
It's
I've never heard of it.
It's the White Path Villa Lodge.
It's the lodge.
David, we need a clarification of
It's
this.
moratorium.
Yes.
On this particular transaction or all of that category?
All the issuance of a business license for halfway houses, drug rehabilitation centers, or facility for treatment drugs.
And my
Through the end
guess,
of the year?
It's gonna probably take at least 2 meetings to get that land use ordinance fixed. We're looking probably October, November, or so. And I've asked, and I know that, I don't know that I told you, Shan, but I don't really want to make any other changes in that land use ordinance other than that one change.
okay with that.
Otherwise, we'll get bogged down in trying to make changes, because it does need to be changed. There's some things in the land use ordinance that definitely need to be addressed and changed, but I don't think this is the time or place at which to do it. I think right now we just
So
don't
we can come right back and go behind that and make other changes we feel
And
we need to make.
I think those need to be suggestions that arise from the planning commission themselves, because they deal with this on a monthly basis themselves, and then they can make suggestions, and then, y'all can review those suggestions and decide which you wish to incorporate, those that you wish not to, and maybe send it back to them, and say, we don't feel good about these.
I'm only aware of one other one that has ever been issued for the county. Am I correct in that?
Other business
For
license?
this particular license, for the rehab.
Promise land.
No, that's in the Isaiah House, isn't it?
Promise Land.
Highway 5.
There's two.
Promised Land would have been out on New
No,
Road.
that's 52 out that way, but I'm talking,
One's a male facility, one's a female facility.
This wouldn't affect them.
they're in the city, aren't they?
Because
Well,
the moratorium is lifted on December 31st, they would be applying for a renewal on their business license
Right.
on January 1st.
My question is, if this applies to this application, does it apply to their, do we have to revoke their license as well, or business license? Any others that we have issued under that?
No, I would suspect that the Promised Land Ministries was in existence at the time of the adoption of the land use ordinance, so it's
But the
grandfathered.
Isaiah House out here is fairly recent.
Is the Isaiah House down there almost to the county line?
No, it's right around this, before you get to 382.
They're just after 3.
Is it in the city? And
Yeah, or 382. It's in the county, I think.
It's,
Yeah, you're right, that's before 3.
it's on Highway 5 south. It,
Is it
depending how much,
I think the
right
city
away the
owns
city's
owns
got
the road.
there.
It's right there where you take off, what is it, Wingate?
Yeah, the
You're
city
right.
owns the road. I don't know if they
No,
own the
it's-
land.
Is it
on
across,
Highway
is it all
5
across from
south.
Benji?
I'm looking for what.
Yeah, Benji and French, right
That's
across the
gonna be
street.
the city. I believe the city goes
It's
all.
possible. I don't know that. That's just a question.
I don't think the county has issued a permit on that.
Okay. And so there's probably no other.
No.
So we just need to make sure we don't affect them since they're existing.
I'll look on the sisters now,
Yeah.
in just a second.
Is this entity wanting to buy or lease that?
I am not sure of the actual involvement as far as the real estate is concerned.
I've heard rumors, but I'm not going to mention it.
Okay, we need to wrap